Hi, I want to make a video on a very vague idea, and this idea is um, this idea of feeling, this feeling, very specific, um, grasping at straws, like I've mentioned. You're feeling very, sort of like, I don't know if this is just me, but it's feeling new. You feel like something's interesting, say like right when you wake up from sleeping. Everything seemed new and interesting. You can't wait. The thing that was so interesting when you were falling asleep the previous night is all of a sudden new and interesting. You get caught up and you're more excited. Things are more interesting. You get caught up in the moment more when you're just waking up from something. And I guess I can try to delve into and psychoanalyze the situation on why this may be the fact. Obviously, you're just waking up and life seems new. You're obviously off and rejuvenating. And obviously it's a function in which you're trying to make up for things that you were doing, your process of getting tired, and all of a sudden you're getting up and you want to, almost in a way, a self-compensating mechanism where obviously you're getting tired and now all of a sudden your body almost forces you into an excitement stage where you want to find anything exciting, anything's interesting. You feel like you're king of the world. Nothing can stop you right when you wake up. And this, right when you wake up, say right when you wake up from sleep, and that's what I mean. Things are all of a sudden new and interesting, and I don't know what really causes that, but you wake up and when the things that were so uninteresting to you when you were falling asleep are all of a sudden, or before you went the previous day, are all of a sudden interesting to you now. And that comes from obviously a space and time where you took a break, and it's almost a compensating mechanism. You could almost describe it as subconsciously a compensating mechanism, because you feel it as just because there's a break and all of a sudden you're excited because there was time between you doing it. But it's also it's subconscious because it's something to force you into these situations that compensate for something or when you're tired. And that's really, I think that's another way of describing the subconscious versus conscious. I've had another video like this between the subconscious and subconscious, but applying it to other aspects of reality and understanding how it exists. But yeah, applying very vague descriptions and reasons for certain things, even though that's not necessarily the case. You're just contriving some explanation to describe and almost rationalize subconsciously something that's happening for no other apparent reason than the conscious reason that you can describe yourself, sort of like sex. They say it's for procreation subconsciously, but it's not for procreation. It's just fooling you. You're fooling, the function is fooling you into having sex. It feels good to fool you into procreating. You're not subconsciously wanting to have kids or babies or to procreate. You're not subconsciously wanting to procreate. You're subconsciously doing nothing. The subconscious part's irrelevant. It's just fooling you into wanting, because it feels good and it's a drive you have. It's a drive that you have that you can apply to procreation. It means nothing beyond that, but it's something that you apply afterwards. Beforehand, it just feels good, and it's tricking you into doing that because it's a function, a redundant function of processes existing in you to force you, or in a way to trick you into doing the thing that it wants you to do. So subconscious, almost in another way, is a way of saying trickery. Subconscious is a way of tricking you into doing things. And that's a good way of describing your subconscious mind, is a way of fooling you into falling for certain things. If anything, that can be the description for subconscious, is fooling you, almost not understanding what a person's saying, or letting the stimulus come in and then realizing afterwards consciously exactly what you were experiencing, or not realizing exactly what the person was saying. Say a person's describing something to you, and you subconsciously recognize it, but you don't really get it, those subconscious interactions, until the stimulus all builds up and you recognize it all of a sudden. To hit that final snap. Wrong hand. So yeah, you get that snap and you realize that's the case. So yeah, I don't know what this video is about. About feeling how when you get up, and when you get up you have these certain situations where you feel rejuvenated. And I guess it's a psychology video. um, describing circumstances of psychology and reality. I mean, psychology is reality, obviously. Sorry, this video is not really meaningful. I need to find something to talk about. Can you see? I'm desperate. Um, so yes, we're trying to. So yeah, when you're feeling certain things, yes, you feel things when you get up more than say when you fall asleep. I mean, I just thought that's something that would be interesting to mention. Psychological phenomenon. I think things like hypnagogic hallucinations and sleep paralysis are other neat things to describe as well. And the process where you do something over and over again um, until you finally get. Yeah, that's another good thing. You know, the process of doing something over and over again, and you're not better until you know that thing where they say, if you memorize something for a test the night before, you remember it better than if you memorized it that morning, or you tried your best to memorize it that morning. You memorize things better if you learn it the night before. Um, um, yeah, what was the point I was making there? Anyway, so yeah, things like hypnagogic hallucinations and doing better things when you wake up. That's the thing I was trying to remember. So doing things better when you wake up um, are from the previous time you're taking a break from something, and then you're rejuvenated, so your function gets back to normal. It gets back and better, and over time it functions better. And sometimes you need a break, sort of like riding on a bicycle. You know those memes and those platitudes. It's like riding on a bicycle. You just get right back on, and you're as good as when you previous were on the bicycle. It's just as easy to get on once. Even if you've taken a break, it's like a bicycle. It's like riding a bicycle. It tastes like chicken, right? It tastes like chicken, even though it doesn't taste like chicken. Um, or it's just as easy like riding on a bicycle, even though it's not necessarily the same case. Maybe for your circumstance, maybe not for mine. But sometimes it's like riding on a bicycle, or it's bet you learn these things um, when um, you learn these. You learn things better when you take a break, and you memorize things better when you fall asleep. So like you feel like you feel like you're excited, you're king of the world when you wake up. You feel like you can dominate anything or anyone. You feel like um, you feel like things are new and interesting, and it's a subconscious mechanism. About the subconscious again, describing subconscious. And another thing I guess mentioned before this is over is um, hypnagogic hallucinations, where you sort of wake up, and you sort of wake up, yeah, you kind of wake up, literally you kind of wake up, and you're half awake, and you notice something, you dream, and you see a scary face in your dream. You wake up, and then you see something, you see it right in front of your face, and it floats away, and it just vaguely floats away, and there's nothing you can do much about it. You can't really get it out of your head. It's just a visage right in front of your face, but it moves slowly and fades away, and that's an interesting thing. And sleep paralysis, that's another interesting thing. Um, yeah, where you wake up and you can't move, and then all of a sudden you can't move, and you sort of shake yourself to sleep. You keep shaking, jerk yourself, and that's another interesting concept. I mean, this really has to go with sleeping. This and subconscious, conscious things, and describing subconscious things and conscious things, and how it's trickery, and how a lot of these things are to fool you into doing certain things. And that's all interesting stuff. So hypnagogic hallucinations and sleep paralysis and shaking. You keep shaking yourself to awake. They said some kind of jerk thing, and your sleep. And hypnagogic hallucinations are interesting, where you see things, a visage, and you wake up in night terrors and things like that. And that's interesting, I guess. Not really. And you have those things where um um where you do a lot, and yeah, I don't even know anymore. But yes, to the basic point I wanted to make in this is, if any point I want to make that's philosophical in this, is subconscious versus conscious, and how that means very little, and how subconscious is mostly trickery more than anything else in describing why. You can almost rationalize some kind of subconscious point of view and describe in almost in a way describing a subconscious point of view, sort of like it's tricking you. It's like sex is tricking you into having children. It's trickery. Subconscious can be described as trickery motivation. So it's trickery motivation that's can be described as subconscious. Why do I want to do this? I don't know why. It's tricking you to get out into getting out of a situation before you necessarily know why you want to get out of a situation. Sometimes you viscerally react to things before you realize exactly why you're scared of these things. You're scared of heights, but you viscerally react. And you have to realize, you sit there and look for a moment, and then you realize, maybe I don't need to react as viscerally, and maybe it's just trying to trick me into falling to my death, because I don't want to experience this negative sensation. I might as well fall to my death to get rid of the situation as a whole. But it's almost a viscerally react, so that you can viscerally react to run away from a lion, say from our evolutionary point of view, and how we were initially interacting with the environment. We viscerally react, so we jerk away from something. So that's more visceral reaction as opposed to subconscious. But that's part of your subconscious, is just viscerally reacting to certain things. In many ways, it's tricking us before we actually think about something. And that's exactly what it is. It's tricking us without really thinking about something. And that's exactly what it is. Without thinking about it, it wants us to trick us. It wants to trick us into doing something that may not necessarily be the right thing to do. And it doesn't apply to all these situations equally. Because obviously, if you're on a tightrope and you viscerally react by being experiencing vertigo, you're just going to fall to your death. You're going to fall. You're not going to achieve what's so important in that circumstance, to survive at least in the circumstance. Obviously, it doesn't work, and sometimes in many cases it's counterintuitive. But yeah, that subconscious, conscious trickery, subconscious trickery, not necessarily right in all the circumstances. Hypnopompic hallucinations, you're usually better than things when you wake up. That goes back to the whole subconscious thing, where the subconscious thing I wanted to mention, like I was mentioning before, of how you're doing things better when you wake up, and you're feeling new and revived, and like sex can fool you into those kinds of things. And I decided to mention things like hypnopompic hallucinations and like that, because it had to do with the same basic subject of, dreams, which is subconscious kind of stuff. Dreams, waking up, night terrors, nightmares, sleep paralysis, sleep jerking, things like that, which is these are things I've experienced myself, and quite a lot actually. And I decided to implement that into this subject, and because it has listing these things is almost in a way listing these kinds of processes that we're describing subconsciously and consciously, because it's supposed to do with dreaming, sleeping, and things like that. But it's more of a list than anything else in describing these circumstances. You can describe it and things moving away. Sleep jerking, you're about to go to sleep, you're sort of half awake and then you can't move. You can see you're not moving. You can't even open your eyes, and you can't even move. But you realize it's sort of like being trapped in your body. A trapped in your body experience, sort of like some soldiers experience, have experienced when they don't have their senses, but they're thinking still. They don't have any sense. They can't feel. They can't see. They can't hear. They can't do any of this stuff, but they can still sense. They can feel the pain, the suffering, and they can feel the psychological sensations of going insane, but they can't feel. They can feel, but they can't think or talk, or they're paralyzed. They're stuck in their body. Sort of like you can be unconscious but stuck in your body, stuck in a dream, stuck in an unconscious state, a vegetated state, and things like that. I don't know if there's any other way to describe these circumstances. I don't know if there's anything else to describe. But yeah, subconscious, conscious, waking up, feeling anew. Things like that can be interesting in describing subconscious. And if anything, the thing that I was originally going to talk about turn into a side subject of a list and describing something else. So I think that's all I want to say. So thank you, and thank you for dealing with my redundancy and irrelevancy in describing these circumstances. I think that's all I want to say. I don't think there's anything else to say on this subject. I don't think. Yeah, but I think if there's anything else in another video that I want to mention, I might mention it. But yeah, if there's anything else in any other videos I want to mention, I'll mention it in those videos. But oh yeah, there's